With more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes, Welton Rayum is committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. At Welton Rayum, they don't get paid unless you win. They handle complex personal injury claims caused by the fault of another in both state and federal courts. They handle auto, trucking, motorcycle, slip and fall, and bicycle accidents. Call 954-966-4646. That's 954-966-4646. Welton Rayum can help.
Welcome to Caneswear.
New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fans shop.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
We are live. It is the AEW Dynamite 250 recap, and they pulled out all the stops on this one. They put MJF against Will Ospreay, opened the show, went for an hour. The best match I've ever seen on Dynamite, although I believe it could have been one of the best matches I had seen on a pay-per-view as well. It had everything. It had Ospreay's so damn athletic. MJF showed that he's one of the best in the business. He can talk. He's got it all. He's the total package. Will Ospreay again showed how athletic he is. There was a couple, and again, real minor things that I question, and this is one of them. We'll start right here. They battle into the crowd. The ref doesn't count them out, and they say it's at the ref's discretion. Then when they get back to the area, then Ospreay rolls back in the ring to break the count. Then they almost stop the match at about the 45-minute mark because he's counting them out. Like, just make it title matches, no count outs, nothing. There's got to be a winner. If that's what you're going to do. That to me was, and again, I look at it from the entertainment aspect of it. Those two are so damn athletic. I knew there was going to be nothing but what it delivered, right? The other thing I would have to say is this. If you're going to have them go 59 minutes and 58 seconds, give them the other 2 seconds and let's run it back. Let's have no winner and let's run it back. MJF ends up winning it 59 minutes, 58 seconds into the match. And we have a new international champion. So now is it MJF versus Pac? Or are they going to set up for a rematch of this to run it back before we get to All In, which is August 25th, I believe it is. All right, we're already in the chat. My dad's in, no doubts in. Jeff from Long Island is in. Appreciate you, buddy. Welcome in to the Squared Circle Digest. And everybody watching us on X, thank you so much. Also on Twitch, wherever you're at, if you can, jump over to the Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button. I'm about 105 away. 105 away from 1,000. So if you can help me out, spread the word, hit the subscribe, hit the like, retweet, whatever it is. I appreciate it so much. Getting back to that match, MJF pulled out all the stops, right? He had the kangaroo kick. He got countered by Ospreay. You had both men at about the 45-minute mark of the match doing hurricanranas from the top rope and both men landing on their feet out of the hurricanrana. Just, I mean, an hour in and they're still doing just epic, tremendous work, man. Those two were the Energizer Bunny, man. And it's amazing to me that you have, I'll pull back the curtain a little bit here. I sent was it on X? I sent a DM to Frankie. I said, hey, before this happens tonight, I'm gonna say I think Daniel Garcia interferes and costs MJF the match, setting up for MJF versus Daniel Garcia at All In. That, of course, did not happen. But I believe at some point the Dynamite Diamond Ring comes into play in this match, knocks out Ospreay. MJF gets the pin. As long as Ospreay's shoulder is okay, maybe that's a concern. I don't know if they called an audible or what the situation is there. But I just cannot believe that the All-In card is scheduled to be MJF versus Pac. And with the way MJF was doing all of the mimicking of Daniel Garcia tonight, that somewhere down the line, Daniel Garcia doesn't return and get a match with MJF. And I was wondering this. Again, a lot's been said about why the next 2 weeks, you got Blood and Guts next week in Nashville and this show in Little Rock. There was only 3 matches tonight. 3 matches, all there was. There was the hour match between Ospreay and MJF. There was Mone against Nyla Rose. And it was Swerve against Okada. That was it. And then now you've got Blood and Guts next week, which we'll dive into that here in a minute. But I'm wondering if Daniel Garcia, somewhere down the line leading up to the August 25th All-In, they don't run this back, Ospreay versus MJF. And if Daniel Garcia doesn't cost MJF the international title, so then at All In, it gets to be Will Ospreay versus Pac, and then Daniel Garcia versus MJF. Again, I don't know where the shoulder stands. I jumped right on this. I haven't went even on X to see if there's been any prognosis on the shoulder or anything for Ospreay. So we'll see where that goes, but just a hell of a match, man. I mean, match of the year easily right now. And if anybody didn't believe that MJF was a total package, hopefully you saw that tonight. He can talk. He can talk the talk and he can walk the walk. And Ospreay pushed him to the limits, and he pushed Ospreay to the limits. And kudos to Tony Khan for giving them a full hour of TV time, although the picture-in-picture drives me freaking bananas. But, hey, I got to see that awesome match. And, again, small minor things that I thought was like, why is the ref counting at one point, not counting at the other? Just let the match go, man. Just let it go. If you didn't count him when they were up in the stands when he was getting punched by the 7-year-old girl, And then why are we counting now? Like, just at that point, just all right, let's just let this match have a winner. And at 59-58, he pulls out the Dynamite ring and nails Ospreay and falls over. And I was like, this is going to end in a draw right as he's about to pin him. And then, nope, he got the pin. 2 seconds left on the clock. And they had a big clock up on the screen, so there was going to be no mess-ups on this bad boy at all. But, man, that was a hot-ass opening for AEW on AEW 250. I mean, dude, everybody's like, oh, it's the greatest match ever on Dynamite. That's probably one of the best matches I've seen in AEW. And if you want to go far away, that's probably one of the better matches I've seen in wrestling right now. I think maybe the only other one might be Steamboat Flair and Savage Steamboat, but they didn't go an hour. But the technical wrestling part of it, and again, look, everything they do is not my cup of tea. But if you were not entertained by that match and you weren't sitting there like each count going 1, 2, and then watch the carry like, oh, damn, I thought he had him. Like, bro, I mean, check your pulse, man. Whether you hate AEW, you love AEW, doesn't matter. That match delivered. Those two guys left it all in the ring. Then after that, the Acclaimed is backstage. They are now in Blood and Guts. And again, I don't like the Team AEW concept. I like, at least they got Swerve on the team this go around in Blood and Guts. Because the last team I really didn't like. You're representing AEW, but the gentleman that holds the belt is not even a part of your team. This time they do have Swerve in there as part of the team. Now they've got Mark Briscoe, who's the Ring of Honor champion, and they've added in the Acclaimed as the third and fourth members of the team. And Swerve said, "You ready to get violent?" So now the Acclaimed is in. So there's 4 of the 5 men. We do find out later on who the 5th man is. And it was hinted at a couple times, and I was like, oh, I figured out who it is. It's break in case of emergency. There's always somebody that TK goes to. And once again, it is that man. They did this segment with the Learning Tree, TV time with the Learning Tree. Minoru Suzuki comes out. He's got the contract next week. He gets the FTW title shot at Blood and Guts. Big Bill and the Rotten Apple, Brian Keith, are banned from ringside. And Suzuki headbutts Jericho. And then my favorite, he's like, bye, guys. Bye, guys. Just fantastic, man. Just little things, man. Just little things. You had the Elite with Okada in the back, promoting the Blood and Guts match, how they're the EVPs. Mercedes Mone walks up, thanks them for having Britt Baker not backstage, in the backstage area for tonight's show. And then before they leave, they ask her if she could do the CEO dance. She does the little CEO, or however it goes. And they go back to Okada, and he's like, oh my God, oh my goodness, he's so hot, so hot. It's just good stuff from Okada, man. I love what they are doing with Okada. I think would I like to see him work a little bit more? Maybe, but I still think they're doing great with him. He did work tonight, but it's been a while since we've seen him. I guess Forbidden Door would have been the last time. He doesn't wrestle on Dynamite a lot, which makes it an attraction when he does. You had Mercedes Mone take on Nyla Rose. Again, Nyla got to show her power. Mercedes showed, the little reservation she has. She's the champion. She's a CEO. She's scared of the power. She overthinks. She's stronger in mind than in body than Nyla Rose. I love the fact that she pulls out the glove and it says CEO on it instead of DMD. She puts it on to do the lockjaw. And this is the other part that I love. And if it was Mercedes who came up with it or whoever it was, the fact she puts on lockjaw and she can't put it on properly. She doesn't know about putting the pressure on, and Nyla Rose bites her hand and gets out of the lockjaw. And then Mercedes bangs her head a couple times on the mat and then locked in the statement maker and finally gets the pin. She gets both belts. She starts to leave, and there's a fan there at the gate with a sign that says DMD is better than CEO. Of course, she takes up with that, grabs the sign, rips it up. Of course, the fan's got a Sting mask on. And she pie faces Mone, the fan pie faces Mone, takes off the Sting mask, and of course, it's DMD. And then she goes to chase her around the ring, and then she misses her, but then goes back to cut the other way, and some overzealous security guards almost tackle Mercedes Mone when they're trying to get in the middle of both of them. And like Mercedes Mone looked like she's trying to get away. And like one of them just like grabbed her up, picked her up off her feet there. And so it was everything. Yeah. And glove with nails. Yep. And the CEO on it. It was a perfect little like detail for this feud. And again, they really didn't get a lot of, touch or anything like that. So they continue building toward All In, and I like what they're doing with it. I like the fact that, Mercedes is the CEO. She's kind of in bed with the EVPs. They're kind of doing what she wants them to do, keeping her happy. And Britt's fighting through all that, and we'll see what happens at All In. But I'm liking the buildup for this All In DMD versus Mercedes Mone. Next was Jack Perry beating up Brandon Cutler. I'm not sure where or what this is to do. I know Darby Allin last week beat him up, and he was like, "Well, if you thought that upset me," and then he's beating up Brandon Cutler and was like, "If you got a problem, Darby Allin, beat me in the ring later." And that's when I said, "Okay, I figured out who number 5 is. Break in case of emergency. Break glass in case of emergency." And it is going to be Darby Allin will be the 5th person. They did the Timeless Tony Storm music hits, and Mariah May comes out in black and white. I love the fact that, she comes out, she does the whole thing. Yeah, poor Cutler. No kidding. That's crazy, man. Crazy. I wish he was still doing the videotaping, but hey, it is what it is. So, Mariah May comes out dressed up as, I love that twist that they do with her, man. I love the fact that she's like, I've played Tony Storm. I've been Tony Storm. Before she even talks, fans are chanting, "We want Tony." And even Tony Schiavone was like, and I'm saying exactly what Tony Schiavone said. He goes, "Speak, bitch." And Taz and Excalibur are like, "Damn, Tony, can't say that." He's like, "Oh, sorry. I get excited. I get carried away." And then when she does finally speak, she says, "Let's be honest. Everyone saw it coming, but Tony Storm, because she's so busy, so desperate to have the spotlight on her, she was giving it all away." And then she goes on to the end and she says, "All Elite Wrestling is all about Mariah." And we'll see. Again, got a couple weeks. And and I was laughing also when he said that. I was just like, oh man. And again, so far now, this is about 1 hour and 45 minutes into the show, the two matches. But that first match was a legit match of the year. Then it gets to Swerve and Okada, which, again, this match really was just to establish what's going to happen next week. They were just getting to the point to where Swerve got the advantage so that the Young Bucks can run down to jump on him, to bring out the Acclaimed, and then Jack Perry, then Mark Briscoe, and then Swerve. They all clear the area. Swerve's in the ring by himself, and Hangman Adam Page's music hits. Which the only reason Hangman Adam Page is in the match is because he wants to get to Swerve. He doesn't necessarily care about helping out the Elite, supposedly. It's more about him wanting to even the score with Swerve Strickland. So we'll see where that goes. And he gets up on the ring, and as soon as he does, Okada pulls out Swerve. They fight up through the crowd. The rest of them keep fighting on the apron and outside the ring area. Finally, they get them kind of separated a little bit. They got the security guards in between the Acclaimed and Mark Briscoe standing at the ringside area. And then up the ramp is Jack Perry, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Page. Then Darby's music hits, and everybody's looking back toward the entrance ramp area. And Darby pulls his thing, comes out from the rafters with his arms spread out, drops down up to the ringside area. I did like the Tony Schiavone detail where he's like, instead of "It's Sting, it's Darby," he does the whole thing there. And Darby's back. Darby and Jack Perry go at it for a little bit. They're rolling around. They're getting stepped on by security guards. A little bit of a mess there where everybody was rolling out underneath everybody there. But again, you're setting up for the match next week, which is Blood and Guts. And we know how that match is going to go. So now we know the 5 men on each side. Team Elite will be the Young Bucks, Okada, Jack Perry, and Hangman Page. Team AEW, Swerve, Darby, Mark Briscoe, and the Acclaimed. I still believe that AEW needs a stronger team. I just feel like it's like their go-to is Darby's in every one of them. I get it. He's a pillar of AEW, but to me, if you're representing AEW versus the Elite, it should be your Swerves. It should be Will Ospreay. It should be, I guess you claim right now would be the top tag team, I guess, so you have them in there. But I don't know, man. I like it because it's going to be a violent match. You know how these blood and gut matches go. The blood and guts match goes, and there's going to be a lot of blood. There's going to be you got Darby, who's crazy. You got Mark Briscoe, who's crazy. Jack Perry's goes a little bit insane. The Young Bucks, Hangman Page, Swerve. I don't know about the Acclaimed. I don't know how crazy they'll get. But again, I just don't like the fact that they just automatically, Team AEW is just like, hey, let's get some 5 guys. It's just like, no, make a team AEW. At least Swerve is on the team this week. Let's see what we got in the chat. I like Briscoe. AEW has to be taking him in. Yeah, I know he's with Ring of Honor, but again, I think this match will be able to prove how crazy he is, and you need that in that match. Security was kind of getting involved in the fight and taking bumps there. Yeah, it was just everybody was everywhere, and I think security was trying to make I know at one point I believe it was Bowens threw one against the ring post, and a couple were getting hit, and you're always told, if you're the security guard, you get hit by the talent, you go down, you bump. You don't just stand there and, you take the bump. And unfortunately, there just wasn't a lot of room there with everybody there and the bumping. But it all worked out. it was to me, man, look, that the first match alone and the way it ended, I mean, it's a high B. And I could even push it to an A. You know, I mean, you always have your minor things wrong with that you can find with every show, but I thought MJF and Will Ospreay, it was at an A+ from there. And I don't think anything took away from it. I thought they built well with the Mercedes and DMD match. You know, again, Mercedes taking on the bigger Nyla Rose, and she handled her own. She gets the win. And then Britt's there to, you know, go after her. Okada, Swerve, I thought they had a good match going. Again, they only had about probably maybe 8 minutes of wrestling before the whole fracas started, which was really just to gear up for Blood and Guts next week. So all in all, man, I thought it was a pretty good Dynamite. I'm going to be very interested to see what the numbers equate to for this show. And if that first match didn't get the numbers, I don't know what Tony Khan's going to be able to do to get those numbers. And again, for those that might not know, I'm going off what I read on from Dave Meltzer and some other things, was that the next couple Dynamites are stacked due to the fact that they're trying to secure the TV rights deals. And again, ratings nowadays are not what they used to be. I understand that. But when you were a consistent 1-900 and now lately you've been in the 6s and 7s, there's a little bit of concern. Does it mean anything against it? No, just you have your base group. You're just not growing, and you're not keeping the casual wrestling fans. And I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, necessarily the storytelling. And the other interesting thing I would have to say about this show was, so you've got Ospreay and MJF the whole first hour, basically to like 9:05. The only two you saw on Dynamite. Then you had the acclaimed Mark Briscoe and Swerve Strickland. Then you did Jericho, the Learning Tree, and Minoru Suzuki. Then you had the Elite and Okada. Then you had Mercedes against Nyla with DMD. Jack Perry, Brandon Cutler, Mariah May. And then it went to Swerve Okada again. So you had maybe 10 people total with TV time today. And if this does deliver in the ratings, and again, I think it may, because of that first hour was freaking phenomenal. And did you see that the homage to Cody when he hooked up the crossroads, he did the wink, because remember, Cody has stated he took the Cody cutter from Will Ospreay. So Will Ospreay does the little wink and hits the crossroads on MJF. So there were little things there. And again, man, they were having a fun time, and it showed in that match, man. It showed in that match. They beat the crap out of each other. They showed a lot. But the question I will have for Tony Khan is this. If this proves to be successful, and again, I don't know if it is or isn't, but if the numbers do trend up with the way that this show was ran, do you change the formats of how you do your Dynamites, or do you just say, no, it's just a one-off? I'm very interested to see what the card is next week with Blood and Guts. Does Blood and Guts get a large portion of the show? And do they only do, again, 3 matches? You had maybe 10 talents shown. And then, then you had also the Guns and them there on the Collision when they took the titles from them. So, but they didn't really necessarily, they just did recaps of a lot of stuff. So does this change the mentality of Tony Khan going forward? Again, every match is not going to produce what Will Ospreay and MJF did for an hour. So I understand that as well. But I just wonder if we always say less is more. Does Tony Khan look at that and say, let's see what we do here? And then also, and I think No Doubt kind of said it right here, it is kind of odd that MJF now has the IC belt. I didn't think they would put a lesser belt on him. I will tell you now, I did not think MJF was going to walk out the international champion. When it started going to when it was about the 45-minute, 50-minute mark, I was like, this is going to be a draw. They're going to make this a draw. And then they'll run it back. I did not see the ring coming into play at 59-55 and then the 1-2-3 to 59-58. I did not see that coming. And I don't know if that was the correct call or not. We'll have to see how it plays out. I just believe that Pac MJF at All In for the international title is not as sexy to me as Ospreay versus Pac for the international title. And then all the little things that he was doing, kind of mocking Daniel Garcia when he was like, "Hey, Danny, that's a pile driver." And he was throwing his hips into Ospreay's face, like what Daniel Garcia does. He did the Daniel Garcia dance. Like, I feel at some point this gets ran back and Daniel Garcia costs MJF the title back to Will Ospreay so that All In, it will be MJF versus Daniel Garcia. And I may be totally wrong on that. But to me, I don't like the MJF Pac. I'd rather see Ospreay Pac at Wembley Stadium. And again, that's what I love about wrestling, though. Ask 5 people, you get 5 different responses on everything in general. What would you like to see? It'll be 5 different things. So that's what makes this wrestling what it's about. You can get emotional about it, and that's the best thing about it, is that it pulls emotions from people. Some people can control them, some people not so much. So we'll find out what happens. Don't forget, please follow me. Social media at Sean_Stanley11. That's on X, IG, Threads, even on TikTok right now. And then also Stanley Media House Network on YouTube. And I got a Facebook group. Also on my Twitter, I've got a community, the Stanley Media House Network community there, and on Facebook. Going to get a little bit more interactive on those with some poll questions, content questions, and different things there. So if anything, please check it out. All I ask, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe buttons, hit the retweets. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in with me after AEW Dynamite 250. All in all, I don't care if you're a WWE fan, if you're an AEW fan, Will Ospreay, MJF, as of right now, today, July 17th, match of the year. That's all I got to say.